I'm happy to be here and talk to you about the 15-minute call. This has just gotten into my head and I can't seem to get it out. Basically, the goal of these conversations I'm having is really helping you think about what you need to do to generate clients in your business, right? And the other day I was talking to someone and she was saying how she was getting calls that just weren't converting. And I happened to notice that they were 15-minute calls. And what this means really is that you can go to someone's Acuity booking link or Calendly booking link or HubSpot booking link, whatever whatever it is you might have, and there's like 8,000, 15-minute calls options. And if there's something that has always bothered me about this idea of 15 minutes, but it never really got me focused on why it's always bothered me until last week. Now, for the record, I have never offered 15-minute calls, and I think there's probably a reason why, and I'm going to share that with you all here today. So let's just talk about why there are 15-minute calls, what they are, and all of that. I'm going to talk about pros and cons, and I'm going to present, I think, a pretty compelling alternative to 15-minute calls. And I kind of feel like, look, I'll be upfront probably that by the title of this talk, which is 15-minute calls, not a fan. Here's why. You probably know I'm not exactly advocating for them anyway. But just to say that, I think first of all, I always like to define things. So a 15-minute call is essentially the premise there, the precedence, if you will, is that when somebody who is selling something is providing a service, gets a prospect on the phone, historically, there can be a lot of time spent with prospects who are not qualified and ends up kind of wasting, quote unquote, the seller's time because they're having a conversation with somebody who they quickly realize isn't going to be a client. Okay. And the premise here is that if you just say, look, it's just 15 minutes, you have an out. You don't have to commit 45 minutes, right, to a full conversation. And that kind of goes to the prospect side too, right? They don't want to end up on a 45-minute call with somebody who isn't going to respect their time, or they realize very quickly that it's not a good fit. And I also feel like there's a precedence here around this idea of productivity where we all have to just have these really quick calls and we have to have as many as possible. I think there's also this idea around not only just, you can call it a concept call, a fit call, a coffee chat. Like, I don't understand how you can have a 15-minute coffee chat. All right, so let me just kind of get into this idea, because if you're offering 15-minute calls, I am basing this discussion around the idea of, is that serving you? Is that supporting you laying the process, the steps for your clients to know what they need to do, to have the experience they need to have to experience in order to hire you? And I'm kind of saying, in most cases, I don't think 15-minute calls are helping you. Now, let's get into the pros, the cons, and really the alternative. I hope you'll stay and listen for these alternatives, because even if you're not doing 15-minute calls, I want to help you understand why, that maybe there is an opportunity for this quick stop discussion. I'm not saying, everything has to be these like hour-long calls. Okay, but quickly before we get started on that, just briefly, if you're catching this before the 5th of February, I encourage you to check out my LinkedIn Connect Challenge. It's happening February 5, 6, and 7. It's free. It's basically an opportunity to come and be challenged on the activities that you do on LinkedIn. Kind of like this conversation, right? Like challenging you on, does 15-minute calls really work, right? We kind of need to kind of get a little bit below the surface with some of the things that we're doing. And the challenge is, completely open to join. It's for service-based businesses. And if you're spending time on LinkedIn already, like join, because you're going to be just spending that time on LinkedIn, but better. All right, so let's get started. Pros and cons of the 15-minute call. All right, here's my pro. It's low commitment, right? If you're like, you just want to get the person on the call, right? You don't want to have them like feel like they have to take an hour call. If from the prospect's position, they just kind of need to find out what the deal is, right? Kind of thing. That's when a 15-minute call is going to work. Okay. But I believe that that needs to happen within a larger context where it's not a waste of time, right? Like, I think that's like my only pro, right? The cons of this are like, think about this. It literally takes me 15 minutes to schedule my Honda car checkup. Like, I had to have my Honda service last week. I mean, it took me 15 minutes just to get the appointment. Like, realistically, what can you accomplish in 15 minutes, right? And I feel like there's a little bit of, on the negative side, I think, first of all, there's a little bait and switch. It's like, here's 15 minutes, but, it's really going to be 30, right? And then it's like screws up everyone's schedule. You know what I mean? And it's sort of like, I just want to, just do this little thing. It just like, I think that if anyone is going to actually spend the time to get on a 15-minute call, I don't know about you, but like, I have to get water. I have to like, make sure my Zoom is updated. Like, it's not just 15 minutes. So if I personally am going to commit myself to any call, like, I want it to be substantial. Okay. And I think when you actually step back and you say, okay, how does somebody make a decision to, to hire you, to engage you as a consultant or a service provider, they're going to first, need to know you exist. They're going to need to learn something about you. And, and I think that for somebody to see your social media or just look at your profile, they don't have to give you anything. They don't have to give up anything. If they're going to then kind of increase their commitment to their interest in you, they're going to maybe give you their email for an ebook, right? And then maybe they're going to join like a free challenge or show up to a live event, right? That is email and time, right? And they have to kind of, prioritize that in terms of showing up at that hour. But then the next level of commitment is actually where they have their time, their email, and they have to contribute, which is that sales call, which is why I feel like, where does this 15-minute thing fit in, right? Like, where does it realistically fit in? And I do feel like the 15-minute call comes from this sort of like, service providers, consultants just being burned because they get, they have these calls with people who either want therapy, who want free advice, who aren't the right fit. But I don't think a 15-minute call is getting you, is solving that problem. You know what I mean? It's kind of like putting a Band-Aid on sort of like a larger issue of, are you getting calls with people who you already know are qualified, who are already have a higher level of commitment to you? And I think just 15-minute calls, it just feels like, when you get those DMs and it's like, I know you're really busy, or I just want a minute of your time, or like salespeople being that way, it's like no confidence whatsoever. So it's just kind of like, it's like 15 minutes is so low of a commitment that, like, what are your show up rates? I mean, I can absolutely guarantee you, if I ever signed up for a 15-minute call and I was busy, I would be like, this is not valuable enough for my time, because I have to interrupt everything else I'm doing to get on this 15-minute call. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense. Now, maybe it made sense, 5 years ago or something like that, or 10 years ago or something. But it's just kind of, I have this kind of weird feeling about 15 minutes. It just feels wrong. It feels like you're not respecting your prospects. It feels like your prospects are just going to be people who are not going to really be invested in you and in the process. So, look, I will just quickly say some exceptions. Like, if you're cold calling and you just need, a few minutes to set up a longer call, I can appreciate that, but that's not somebody scheduling a 15-minute call. I think also, maybe your full-time job is to take 15 minutes with somebody to qualify them to then go into a a more robust conversation with an AE or with with the subject matter expert or so on. And honestly, I don't have any statistics around this, but like for most people that I work with, the 15-minute call, I just don't understand how it can be of value. But I really want to say this point. This is really, really, really important. Okay. Don't go anywhere. Listen to this. Okay, you don't have to listen. That was kind of weird. Listen, this is so important. I think that the alternatives, three better alternatives to this 15-minute call are the following. Number one, add an application. Add an application to have a 30 to 60-minute call with you, because that's really what you're trying to achieve in these pre-call 15-minute, appointments. Just do an application, right? Or even like Typeform or some other form, people can actually submit video about themselves. I mean, it could be written, it could be video. I mean, multimedia is so easy today. So please just get the application, right? I know that you want that face-to-face time. I know that seems like the holy grail, but it's really not. Sales calls is only like that's literally like, the foundation of what I personally am doing in my business is helping people have conversations, sales conversations. But just to say, like, it doesn't make sense to have a conversation with somebody who's not pre-qualified, right? We want people to see your marketing. We want people to fill out the application so that it also gives them a chance. It gives them a chance to see if it's right fit for them. I mean, put a long web page about what's expected, more information online, So application is number one. Number two is just do a 30-minute call. You know what I mean? It's just like the level of commitment is higher. You're not committing to a full hour, but 15 minutes is like, you're going to spend 6 minutes like talking about the weather and like saying chit chat. Like, come on. Have you ever gotten on a call and after like 13 minutes, oh, gotta go? I mean, how rude and weird is that? Okay. All right. I just feel like if you want to have coffee chats, just say 30 minutes. Okay. Number three, alternatives to 15-minute calls. This is really, really where I would go is direct messages. That is the point of the direct messages, right? Direct message is the bridge between your marketing and your sales call. Not everybody wants to get on a sales call with you. They probably want that same experience of the pre-check 15-minute kind of check each other out thing, right? Do that in the direct messages. Okay. That's where you want time spent, not this, 15-minute on and off, like completely valueless situation. Okay. So just remember 15 minutes is not really of value. You're going to have low show up rates. You're going to end up extending the call anyway, which screws up everyone's schedule. I think when you say 15 minutes, it feels like you're just being like, please just take 15 little minutes with me. And that's not the kind of people that you want to attract. And I would just say three alternatives to that are get that application out, do a 30-minute at least, or do the 15-minute, replace the 15-minute with the direct messages. That's where you can, have a feel for each other. All right. So do I say the 15-minute call is dead? Long live DMs? Maybe I do. Maybe that's what I'm planting my flag in today. All right. I just, I want you to all make sure that you're setting up your sales process in a way that's most successful to you. And if you're having 15-minute calls, I think the signal that it sends may not be the one that you think that you're sending. And I encourage you to consider alternatives to meet the moment in terms of where sales is today. All right. So that's what I have for you today. If you are working on your sales process and you're a consultant, you're a service provider, I do one-on-one executive sales coaching. I also do group sales coaching. You can DM me and we can have a little back and forth instead of that 15-minute call. And of course, again, connectchallenge.co is where you're going to want to go to register for Monday's event. Again, depending on when you're listening to this, but you can go to connectchallenge.co. You can always sign up for the wait list for the next event that I'm running. And thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye.